Good morning. I'm Dean Lemoyne, Patrick's father. Today we're cooking a jambalaya for 150 people at church. We're actually cooking it tomorrow. Today we're going to try and get some of the prep work out of the way. And so for this recipe, I refer to this as my 15-pound recipe. It'll feed about 150 people, but it's 15 pounds of pork, which today we're using pork sirloin chops. The sirloin chops have a little bit of fat in them. You don't want to use like a pork chop by itself because the pork chops are really, really lean and they don't have the fat content in it to cook into a casserole like a jambalaya. 15 pounds of pork, 15 pounds of smoked sausage. You can use any smoked sausage that you choose. We use the Savoy's mild, and 15 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. The recipe also calls for rice, and I use a parboiled rice. You can get that from either Zatarain's, or most store brands are just as good as well. We use the Great Value one from Walmart. The parboiled rice is sort of blanched in a hot water mixture and then taken out and dried. And when it cooks in the jambalaya, each rice grain stays more individual and doesn't mush all together with the other rice around it. So it doesn't make like a big clump. It'll stay more individual grain. So 15 pounds of pork, 15 pounds of sausage, 15 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And we use the thigh meat because the dark meat chicken stays more moist in the jambalaya. It doesn't dry out like breast would. So the dark meat's definitely better for this recipe. 15 pounds of parboiled rice, 15 quarts of liquid, and I'll generally use half of that. I'll use like a unsalted chicken stock and or chicken broth, and the other half will just be water. And 15 ounces of Slap Ya Mama.
Our favorite Cajun seasoning.
Very good blend. It doesn't have as much salt in this as most other Cajun seasoning blends do. So 15 ounces of that, 15 ounces of garlic, like a minced garlic, a jarlic, some people call it, and 15 pounds of seasoning blend, like onions, bell peppers, celery, what we refer to as the Holy Trinity. So 15 pounds of all of those, and the sausage in particular, what I like to do with the sausage is cut it long ways down the middle to open it up, and then chop it so that we end up with a little half moon size shape. And this will let us cook out a lot of the fat. We'll brown the sausage first, and the fat that renders out, the grease that's produced, we'll use that grease and fat to cook the rest of the jambalaya in, and it'll help get things started. This way you won't need to add any butter or oil or anything to get things started, like when you're browning the pork.
Oh, we've already got a massive pot.
I'll show you a little bit about how I prep the pork in just a minute, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, next we're going to take care of the pork. We're going to just cube it up into bite-sized pieces, just so that we have lots of small pieces in the jambalaya, so everyone gets a little bite of pork, sausage, or chicken in every bite of jambalaya. I like a high meat to rice ratio in my jambalayas.
I've also never met a person that has ever turned down a chance to try his jambalaya.
So we'll just like to cut it along some of these fat lines.
Give you all an overhead view.
They probably don't need to be so close to meat. It's a little slimy. Okay, so nice bite-sized pieces. When that cooks down, it'll be just right. You don't want to have to take 2 or 3 bites to get through a piece of meat. It goes a little further in jambalaya too, that way everyone's going to get plenty of meat in their plate.
Okay. Yeah. This bowl?
Yeah. You can show a little bit of each one getting chopped up so they have an idea.
Sausage. Can smell the sausage. You Leo Dougie. Strutty the cricket.
Doing this, but if you get a little bit off, it saves in the long run. So then I'll generally fold it over. The grain of the meat runs this way, so we're going to cut perpendicular to that. I'll just take each thigh and cut it into 3, so it makes kind of a long strip, and that will sort of, as it cooks down, it'll break up into smaller pieces. So a little more of the fat off.
Got a hungry doggy.
And then across the grain. Good morning. It's jambalaya day. We've got all of our ingredients all cut up and prepared. We've got 15 pounds of the seasoning blend. That's bell pepper, onion, and celery, the Holy Trinity. We got 15 pounds of smoked sausage, cut and prepared, the pork sirloin, and boneless, skinless chicken thighs. 15 pounds of each of those. We got 15 pounds of parboiled rice, and this is 16 ounces of Slap Ya Mama, so we'll leave a little bit in the can. We need 15 ounces. We got a bottle of Kitchen Bouquet. That's gonna give us a little better, darker color and adds a little bit of flavor. And about 15 ounces of garlic, or minced garlic. Also have this little packet of rib tip bones. I usually throw that in there and brown it with everything else, and all that marrow kind of comes out of the meat and adds a little bit of flavor. We've got 6 quarts of chicken stock, unsalted chicken stock here. We need 15 quarts total of fluid to balance out the rice to fluid ratio, and we're going to use 6 quarts of it will be the chicken stock, and the rest of it we'll just use water. And that's it. So this 15-gallon recipe requires at least a 15-gallon pot to be able to hold everything. And I've got a potbelly cast iron pot here that will cook it in. Makes it a little easier. The bottom's rounded and gives you the ability to stir it and turn it over. We'll use the grease and fat that's rendered from it to get to cook the rest of the ingredients in it. Start with that. Dump all our sausage in. We're going to brown the sausage. The grease that's left after we brown the sausage, we'll remove the sausage once it's done. The grease that's left, we'll start our pork in it and get it going. Secret ingredient, pour a beer in there with the sausage just to add a little bit of liquid to help everything get going. Any kind of beer will work. Not promoting any particular brand here, just a little liquid to help everything start melding and frying down. Okay. The sausage is starting to render down. That beer we put in there just added a little liquid to help the process get started so we don't burn the sausage on the bottom. A little bit of liquid in there to help steam it and get the rendering process started. It'll take a few minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to get this fried down a little bit, render some of that grease out. Then we'll pull the sausage off and get started with the pork. Sausage is rendering down pretty good. Just rendering out. That's what we want.
Smells like good sausage. Alright, what are you doing next?
Next, we're gonna pull the sausage off and let it drain, and then we're gonna get started with the pork, and we're gonna use that grease that rendered out of the sausage to get the pork going. So that's what's next. I'm just putting a little bit of this in there. Don't worry about it. Just keep it thin.
Really good sausage.
Okay. This is browned a bit and rendered down, so we're gonna try to keep all that juice in there. Let it drip out.
You need some pans or anything? You can do some in the kitchen if you want to.
Yeah, this will work. This will absorb some of the grease from the sausage.
We wanted to make a video about him making jambalaya.
Oh, of course. That's what you're venturing into, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Are you videoing?
Yeah.
You can give me a hand on that box. You just have to show a little bit of it, Patrick. You don't have to. Okay, so here's the fat that was rendered out of the sausage. And we're going to get our pork started in there.
Nice backdrop. That sound. This is Louisiana cooking ASMR.
Try to get all of this pork coated in that grease that was left in the sausage. And they'll all fry up and hopefully.
Here, can you hold some?
Our pork sirloin. A good amount of flat fat in it. Not so much that it's going to make our jambalaya real greasy. Everything's pretty well coated with the grease that was left in the pot now. So we're going to cover that and let it get browned up.
So what are you doing now?
Just stirring the pork around so it's not sticking and burning. Pork's rendering down nicely. I like to get a little bit of browning on it, so once all of the juices from the pork kind of boil away, we'll stir it around a few times and get it sticking to the bottom just a little bit, get a little bit of that browning on it, and then we'll dump in our onion, bell pepper, celery mixture. Get that going. We'll finish with the chicken, the juice, and then the rice. Stand by. We've got our pork frying down nicely. Most of the water's gone, and the juice, and the pork is gone already. Starting to get a little color on it. Got those rib tip pieces in there too. All that marrow will come out, help flavor the sauce. And let that get a little more color. And we'll start with our vegetables. We've got our Pick Sweet seasoning blend we're dumping in now. We've got all the pork browned down, cooked down. Dumping all of our vegetables in now. Let those cook down for a bit. And then we'll go in with the chicken. Getting ready. Vegetables are cooked down sufficiently now. We'll go ahead and add in our chicken. Boneless skinless chicken thighs. Cubed up. 15 pounds. Difficult to do one-handed, video guy. Alright, we'll get this stirred up and we'll check on it in a little bit. Everything's cooking down pretty well. About time to add the sausage back in. Sausage has been draining. That stirred up. Start adding our liquid. And we got our sausage back incorporated into the mixture. We're going to come in now with our unsalted chicken broth or chicken stock. I like to use this because the sodium count is much lower than regular chicken broth, and that way it doesn't make it too salty. And you can add the measured amount of Slap Your Mama later on and control the salt content and the flavor a lot. So it's going to be 15 quarts of fluid. I'm keeping with our 15 theme for this pot. And you can do this same recipe and just cut everything down to 1 if you'd like. We'll typically feed about 10 people, and just do 1 quart of the fluid, 1 pound of rice, 1 pound of chicken, 1 pound of pork, 1 pound of sausage, 1 pound of the seasoning blend, and just scale it up or scale it down from there. Works really well. Flavor is very consistent, comes out tasting the same every time. I'm going to use 6 quarts of the chicken broth today, and the remaining amount I'm just going to use water. There's plenty of flavor. It'll work out good. Also, you see this kind of blonde color that we have going here. I'm gonna add 1 jar of the Kitchen Bouquet browning sauce, and that'll darken it up a little bit so that you don't have a blonde jambalaya. It just looks more appealing, it looks more flavorful. When your jambalaya is kind of white and creamy looking, it just doesn't. Maybe psychological, I don't know, but it just doesn't taste as good. So I'm gonna get the rest of the fluid in there, and I'll give you a shot of how the color changes when we put the browning sauce in. Stand by. Okay, we've got all of our liquid incorporated in, our 15 quarts of fluid to balance the 15 pounds of rice. And you can see how it's a little blonde, so I like to put a jar of this Kitchen Bouquet, and this is a 4-ounce bottle, and that'll help darken it up quite a bit, just so that the jambalaya is not quite so blonde. And there's supposedly some flavor and seasoning in there as well, but I don't notice a whole lot of difference in the flavor. But the color's certainly nicer, and psychologically I think it makes it taste better, if that makes any sense. So that's a whole 4-ounce jar. If you're doing a reduction of this recipe, a smaller version, just act accordingly. This was 4 ounces in this 15-pound recipe. If you scaled it down and did a 5-pound recipe, just use a third of the jar. So, all right, just about ready to put our seasoning in now. Got our Slap Ya Mama. This is a 16-ounce jar. We're only going to need 15 ounces of it, so we'll leave a little bit left in the jar. About an ounce left there. And we're just going to stir that around, incorporate it, put our rice in. The pot's looking pretty full right now. This is a 15-gallon pot for our 15-pound recipe. You could use a bigger pot, but don't use anything smaller, or you won't have enough room for all your ingredients. Nice color now. It's going to be a beautiful jambalaya. Then go ahead and get our rice incorporated, and then we'll put our fire, we'll cover the pot after the rice is in there. We'll stir it around a little bit, and put our fire as low as we possibly can without it blowing out. And put the cover on, and 30 minutes later we'll be ready to eat jambalaya. Okay, we've got all of our rice incorporated now, and you can see we're within 1.25 inches or so at the top of the pot. So definitely have to have at least a 15-gallon pot for a 15-pound recipe. Now, as the rice absorbs the juice, the level's not going to get any higher than this, maybe slightly, but this is basically how much jambalaya you're going to have when it's all done. We're going to reduce our heat now as low as we can go. Quite a fire going in there right now. We'll bring it down as just a little bitty rosebud, as low as it'll go. Yeah, put the cover on it. Jambalaya's coming along. The rice is starting to take on the fluid now. I like to give it a little stir. You're not going to hurt it by stirring it, really. You do release a lot of the heat, but stirring it helps to just distribute the meat a little more evenly. When you just dump the rice in there, it's going to kind of sink to the bottom. So you got to give it at least one, maybe two stirs in the process of the 30-minute soak, where it's where the rice is expanding and cooking in the pot, just to make sure that the meat gets distributed throughout the pot. So this is looking really good. The rice is starting to swell up. When you first put the rice in there, you think, wow, that's not a lot of rice. I wonder if we need more, but trust the ratio. 15 pounds, 15 quarts of fluid, 15 pounds of all the meats, and it's going to be golden. The seasoning, everything, if you stick with the ratios on everything will come out just right. All right. Getting close.
My mother's last name was Zach, so she was always
to the
last.
rim.
I'm always last. And back in those days, she was born in 26. Everybody was alphabetical.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Seasoned to perfection.